Welcome back to the Flushing Faithful podcast. As you know, winter meetings have wrapped up and the Mets did nothing. Okay, let me go back on that statement. I don't want to say they did nothing, but what they did is they saved Noah Syndergaard from being traded. Now, there's still a possibility he'll be traded. His name keeps coming up, and I do not know why the Mets won't just say, we're not trading him. Yes, he is their most valuable asset. I mean, he could probably bring back, who knows, 3 or 4 players. It should be at least that. And they should be from the best players of someone's minor league system. But look at the Padres. They won't give up Tatis. So if you're not getting that level of player, do not do it. I wish the Mets would sign him to a contract, get a below market contract for now, which leads into his free agent years, but who knows what they're going to do. Hopefully Brody doesn't have the same mentality as Sandy Alderson, or DeGrom, Syndergaard, and everyone else won't be signed. The player I thought the Mets might have tried to trade is Zach Wheeler. The problem is people don't know if that was a blip on the radar or if that's the new Zach Wheeler. Well, take a look at it. Zach Wheeler was learning from Jacob deGrom, and he outbested him the second half of the season if you look at the numbers. And deGrom learned from John Smoltz. Go back to 2 times between outings instead of throwing once, and he was able to be consistent the whole year. And then Zach Wheeler starts doing the same thing, and look at the results. Again, another player that should be signed. I don't know what the Mets are waiting for on signing these guys, and signing them would make them even more tradable too. But anyway, looking back at the winter meetings, they signed Jeurys Familia. Yeah, I think I've seen this guy somewhere before. Well, they signed him to a 3-year, $30 million contract. He's now going to be the setup man for Edwin Diaz. He will also serve as a mentor. You had the trade before the meetings with Cano and Edwin Diaz. I don't like the contract number on Cano, but Edwin Diaz is the real prize of that trade. The only problem is he does have bone spurs in that elbow. So there is a point where he may need surgery. Bone spurs sometimes will bother you like it did for Jacob deGrom. That's why he had them removed. And look at what he did last year. Steven Matz also had an issue. Well, he's had so many issues, so let's not even talk about him. But the big trade that did not happen, JT Realmuto, and I am glad it did not happen, because again, Syndergaard would have been in some trade to somewhere. And he just should not be traded. But there's still ongoing talks about him. And even the people who use these stupid geek stats can see he's just middle of the pack. He is not that good. I mean, he gives you offense, but if you look at Travis d'Arnaud and, what's his name? Plawecki. In a whole season, they'll give you the same offensive output. It's the defense that's a problem. But here's the thing. Baseball has negated the stolen base. So what does it matter? The stolen base is now an ancient relic in baseball. So it really doesn't matter if your catcher can throw someone out. It matters for Syndergaard because he's bad at holding runners on, but he is learning. There are rumors that a new deal could be made, which is just the Mets and the Marlins, which would revolve around Nimmo and Conforto and not Rosario. And that the Marlins like some of the Mets prospects like Jimenez, who supposedly is ready for the majors, Mauricio, and Vientos. I'd give them up if it was that. Not all of them, of course. But if it's between Nimmo and Conforto, the reason I would pick Conforto is he's a Boris client, so you may not even re-sign him. And if he puts up more years like this, they're going to start trying to say, oh, he deserves Bryce Harper money. Even Bryce Harper doesn't deserve Bryce Harper money. But I don't see the fascination. He puts up numbers that you already get, except he's less injured. And for Travis d'Arnaud, it's been freak injuries. It's not like something where he has chronic injuries. The Tommy John was a new one, but the other ones were like getting hit by a bat, getting concussions, things like that. It wasn't anything that would be chronic. The problem is, it seems to happen every year. Would I roll the dice on him? Yeah, you already gave him a contract. But I guess he becomes a tradable commodity if you bring in another catcher. The only catcher I would be looking at is maybe Ramos or something like that. But he's going to want more playing time than what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, give Noah a personal catcher. Reason being, he cannot hold runners on that well, so people are going to be running on him. So whether it's Plawecki or someone else, he should have a personal catcher. What else came out of the winter meetings? Oh, the Mets picked up 2 Rule 5 players. One who is very interesting is this pitcher they picked up from the Indians, Kyle Dowdy. He has a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. His secondary pitches are suspect right now. Maybe throw him in the bullpen and see if he can develop the other pitcher, the other pitches. If he develops the other pitches, he'll make a decent starter. If not, he could definitely be a bullpen arm. And then you have Braxton Lee. I've been reading about him online. I honestly don't know much about him. But it seems he can play the whole outfield, has some speed. Someone even compared him to Jeff McNeil. Maybe you've heard of him. Guy seems to be able to put the bat on the ball. But while I'm reading, of course, geek stats come in. Now, how are you going to say that a player's hitting is mostly luck? Luck is not a stat. This is where me and geek stats disagree. I used to play baseball. At one time I was thinking of trying out, but I got hurt before I did. So I'm speaking from a player who has played the game. You watch players. Look at what they can do. Stats are good for Stratomatic. Are we playing Stratomatic or are we putting a team on the field? If you notice, look at the Red Sox. They don't have 2 outcome hitters. Guys who hit a home run or strike out are a dime a dozen, and you don't win with them. Hopefully, baseball will get back to being about real players and not numbers in a notebook. But Braxton Lee, maybe he sticks. Kyle Dowdy actually has to be on the roster. He was taken in the major league part of the Rule 5 draft. If he doesn't stick, he has to be offered back to the Indians, or the Mets can stick him in the minors. Let's see, what else was there? I know there was some other rumor, but I'm drawing a blank right now. I mean, to me, the Mets are pretty much set, except for Frazier. He offers leadership and whatever, but on the field, I mean, he comes to the Mets. It's the first time he's injured for that long. Seems like a good guy, but if you can get rid of him, I would. Let Jeff McNeil have that position. Let him play. The guy showed he can hit. And if it wasn't for injuries in the minors, he probably would have been up sooner. Because, as you can see by the numbers from last year, he can hit. The fielding is supposedly suspect, but so was Daniel Murphy. Look at him. And speaking of Murphy, you know he's still a free agent? That I would not expect. But it shows how far things have gone to geek stats. I mean, you're talking a guy who can now hit 300, hit 20 plus home runs. He's a guy who puts the bat on the ball and doesn't strike out 180 times. Sooner or later, baseball's going to have to realize they need more than two outcome hitters, or they're going to lose fans like me and most of their fan base. Because the new people who they're trying to cater to don't care about the game of baseball as much as everyone else. Now, yes, it is a generalization. Of course, there are others who do, but there are people who want to see stolen bases, want to see hits, want to see real baseball. Yes, I'm going off on a tangent because I hate this. It's part of what brought down the Mets. All the two outcome hitters. I mean, Todd Frazier is pretty much one of those too. But we'll see what happens. I mean, the Mets now have Peter Alonso hopefully playing first base. Robinson Cano at second. Rosario looks like he matured a little. Jeff McNeil or Todd Frazier at third. Nimmo and Conforto in the outfield. Center field is still up in the air. But if this Braxton Lee is okay and Juan Lagares is back, maybe you could do a platoon. You don't need another 30 home run hitter. What you need is guys who get on base so everyone else can drive them in. And someone who can field the position. But I guess we'll see what the Mets do. That was one of the other things. Juan Lagares supposedly is being shopped around. At his price, great. But the problem is he was injured all last year. So you're going to get nothing back for him. A.J. Pollock is still out there. I just don't see the Mets giving him that contract. Andrew McCutchen is probably the player the Mets would have went after. And he's alright. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. It's just he's on the decline side of his career. But some of those players give you enough or give you what you need. And he might just do that. Well, Yeah, I guess that's all I have on the winter meetings and what's going on with the Mets right now. I can't think of anything else that I would like to add at this point. So I'm going to say this is the end of this. You know what? I don't even know what episode I'm up to. I should really keep track. Anyway, this is the Flushing Faithful podcast, and I'm signing off.